Hey, crew, and welcome back to Trenches. I'm your host, Milan Therese. On this show, we have unfiltered conversations with entrepreneurs in the messy middle. We dig into the experiments, defining decisions, disasters, pivots, and breakthroughs that shaped their companies long before the world was watching. Before we get into it, if you like this episode, which I know you will, please take a moment and like, subscribe, and share this episode to your group chat. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Trenches, the podcast. Today, we are meeting with Gina Moore, the founder of Pantry Gems, a modern pantry brand on a mission to solve the at-home cooking and leftover problem for tomato paste. Pantry Gems creates perfectly portioned tablespoons of organic tomato paste so home cooks can use exactly what they need without wasting the rest. Gina is a San Diego-based mom of 3 young kids and pup cleverly named Ravioli, who has used creativity to bootstrap her dream business while supporting her family along the way. Hi, Gina. Welcome to Trenches, the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I am so excited to meet you. We are going to dig into everything today. Gina and I met through another one of our Trenches podcast guests, Diana, if you haven't watched that episode. So we are super excited to have another CPG founder in the space. And Gina has really, I like to say, hacked her way through bootstrapping. So we are definitely going to dig into that today. So, Gina, tell us, what trench are you in right now?
Oh boy, I am in a major trench right now. I am trying to figure out how to actually make my products. We got very close, but then we had to backtrack because, of course, you don't want to wait until it's completely perfect because they say then it's too late, but it needs to be good enough, you know? So, yeah, right now I have a big hump I'm trying to get over, and that is how to make this product. And I'm really hoping we're going to figure it out in the next month.
Oh my gosh, that is so exciting. I think that is the biggest hump that so many products go through is you have the idea, you get the branding, you go through the recipe testing, but then it's how do we bring all of these pieces together into a final product? And that sounds like where you are right now.
Yes, and everything just takes a lot longer than you think. I really thought I would have had it figured out by now, but I need to get used to the fact that it's going to take extra long for every step along the way. But that's just how it works. So just trying to be patient.
It truly is. It takes double the money and double the time.
Yes,
Always.
for sure. Double the money too.
Absolutely. So let's dive into your story. I want you to share with us your journey to starting Pantry Gems.
Okay, so in order to do that, I need to just go back and give you my background about who I am so you can get to know me. And let's see, I grew up in Florida, in Naples, Florida. I ended up going to Florida State for college and I was an art education major. While I was there, I studied abroad in Italy and also want to know I am Italian. So this was perfect for me. It was the best time of my life. And after I graduated, I went back for an internship. And when I came back, it was 2008, which was the worst time to get a job because of the economy. And I just got a random sales job. It was at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, which is actually an amazing first job for people to get because it looks so good on a resume. And I did this for a year or so, but during that time, I knew I wanted to move to San Diego. And I'm really lucky I picked a national company like that because they allowed me to transfer to San Diego with a job. So that was a big deal. So I had some money when I moved out here. Within a month of moving here, I met my husband. We just became friends. And then a few months later, we ended up started dating. So that was a crazy thing that I definitely didn't expect. And he's from here. So I did end up staying here and I love it here so much. But anyway, so I worked at Enterprise for only 1 month and I knew that wasn't going to be a long-term job for me. I was very good at my job though. I was super good at selling that car insurance and I still believe in it. But from there, I got a job for 6 months at a copier company selling copiers. And then after that, I worked at Dexcom, I was doing inside sales. It's a medical device company for people with diabetes. And I did that for 6 years. And I just honestly hated all of that. I never had aspirations of doing that kind of work. Even in college, I didn't know what I wanted to be really. I picked art education because I've always been artistic and creative. And I thought I was going to be a pottery teacher, which was a super fun major to have because you actually got to take home your projects. But anyways, so while I was at Dexcom, I had a few side jobs that I was like, what else can I do? So I played around with a baking company. I would put business cards in the break room. I ended up doing someone's wedding, and I just got random clients and I would make baked goods for them. And the other thing I did was I would teach my friends cooking classes. Food has always been at the forefront for me. I love to cook. I love to host. I love cookbooks, all the things. So anyways, when I was 29, me and my husband had a talk and we're like, I want to have a baby, and either we do this now or wait, but I don't want to be at this job anymore. So we kind of decided if we get pregnant, I'm going to quit my job eventually and be a stay-at-home mom. And that's what happened. I had my first baby when I was 30. And I loved being a stay-at-home mom. But as a lot of moms will tell you, it is the hardest job in the world. It's the best job, but the hardest. You get no breaks. It's a 24/7 thing. And it is amazing, but you just don't really have a lot of time for yourself. So I ended up having another baby in 2018. So first one 2016 when I was 30, the next one in 2018 when I was 32. And then I really always wanted to build my own big family since I'm from Florida. I don't have a lot of family out here. And I wanted that third baby. And that ended up being a COVID baby. So I got pregnant, I was pregnant in 2020 and he was born in March 2021. And after that, having 3 kids that's a lot of children. And you are you're in the trenches. You really are. Talk about being in the trenches. Talk to a mom. That's when you're really in the trenches. And 2 kids wasn't that bad for me, but 3 was just next level. And I just was craving something for myself so badly. And that is something I wish I could go back and tell my 20-year-old self in college. At least get a business degree so you can fall back on that. You want to establish something. Even if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, it's after you have kids, you need something for yourself and just a way to find yourself again. And when he was 6 months old, I was just like, I gotta just start brainstorming. Truly, my brain barely worked. I always say that my brain was not working. Major mom brain. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. So I just started taking notes in my phone, obsessed with the notes app. And I just put different categories like things I love, things I think I can do, things I want to do, what I want in life. This actually was kind of my first time where I was putting pen to paper, but it was on my phone for manifesting. And I got deep in the manifesting. So from there, it's weird because once you start putting thoughts down and you internally start taking actions to make those thoughts real. Very quickly after that, I got on the first step of my journey. And there's 3 steps that led me to this point. And the first one happened in September of 2021-ish. So I was on Instagram, and I've said this before, but my toxic trait is I love clicking on people when someone else tags them to see if I have friends in common because I'm a connector and I just like to know. And there was this food influencer who tagged her manager, and I clicked on it and saw that the manager and I had a lot of friends in common. And I was like, this is so weird. So I ended up asking one of the mutual friends how they know her, blah, blah, blah. And they knew each other in college. And she's like, actually, I think you would really get along with her. I'll introduce you. Long story short, I ended up working for that little company called Lately, who's now a big company, but she had just started. And Lindsay is my friend in contact there. And I did about 10 months of managing influencers. So I had different influencers. I had some food influencers. Those were ones that I reached out to because I was following them. Some really cool ones. I had this amazing TikTok dancer, a bunch of other ones. I did that for about 10 months. And then, I have 3 kids. So that wasn't a viable option for me in the summer when they were out of school. So that brings me to the second step along the way. That was my mother-in-law published a novel. She turned 75 in August of that summer, 2022. And she published her first novel and she asked for my help with social media and to go on her book tour with her. So this sounded awesome to me. My first time staying in a hotel room alone with no kids. How cool. And I just love social media. I always have. And in my head, I'm like, what if I could help people that write a cookbook go on their tour? So it was just like a fun little stint, and it just opened my eyes to like a new world. So I did that for 3 months. That took us to the end of 2022. And from there, the third part of this, which lasted 3 years, is I got into studio photography. And this is a great thing if anyone's out there that wants to find a way to make money, look into doing studio photography. You need a camera, yes, but you can probably find one used. I ended up using my mother-in-law's camera, and I just set up white paper in my garage and kind of just started taking photos of friends and family for free and just learned how to do it, look on YouTube and just learned how to do studio photography. And it is harder than you think, but you can do it. And it's a way to make money. So I've been doing that for the last 3 years. Now, this whole time I knew that the photography wasn't my $1 million idea. And the whole point of me brainstorming in my phone was I am looking for a $1 million idea. What is it? And I knew the photography wasn't it, but it definitely got me to this point. It helped me save money. And in September of 2024, that is when I kind of was like evaluating everything, thinking of more ideas. And I had written down tomato paste in my phone. But September, October, through the rest of the year, that's the busiest time for a photographer because I'm doing Christmas card photos, holiday card photos. So I decided I'm going to pocket it. And in January of 2025, I'm going to revisit it. And that's exactly what I did. Starting January of 2025, just over a year ago, I started to dig in, had zero idea what I was doing. I am not in the CPG space, food and beverage. That technically, even though I love to cook, has nothing to do with starting a food brand. And yeah, that got me to January 2025.
That's incredible. We're going to dig in all into your career because there have been so many steps along the way, and your career has been full of moves and life transitions and entrepreneurial ventures. But just like you said, cooking and creativity seems to have always been a constant that popped up. What were some of those creative paths that you took in your career that helped you support you along the way? You talked about influencer marketing for a minute, talent management, and then doing photography. Once you finally
Mhm.
landed on that, what really clicked for photography that made it so profitable for you?
That's a really good question. And I think that goes back to being a connector. Two things. Like I am a connector. So I know I'm one of those people that knows everybody, and people come to me, the recommendations, stuff like that. So I know a lot of people. So that definitely helped with the photography thing. And then the creative side, the reason why I started was because I was looking for a creative outlet. So I wanted to create something. And it's funny because once you start creating, but you turn it into a business, it doesn't become as fun. You have people depending on you, they're paying you. And I honestly stopped liking it a few months after I started. I'm very impressed with myself that I did it for as long as I did. So I kept at it because I did find a way to make money. And I very slowly increased my pricing. So I started for free, did that for a few weeks, and then I just started charging $50. And what do you got to lose with $50 for a photo shoot? So I ended up getting tons of clients and contacts, and people started spreading the word. She's doing $50 photo shoots. I ended up, it is a lot of work. It takes a few hours to edit these shoots, even though the time that I'm shooting is short. So I bumped it up to 120. And then like the following year, I set my pricing at 250, and I felt like that was a really good number. This last year, I ended up bumping it to 350 because I give you so many photos and it's a lot of work. That's just how I operate though. I'm not someone that can just pick 10 photos. I want to give you all the good photos in case you don't like your smile in one, you have another option. So that's just who I am too. I like to do that kind of stuff. And so it became a way to make money. But again, it wasn't the $1 million idea. Like that's way too much work to put on one person. So I had to figure something else out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so cool though, because from the beginning, almost of your entire career, but definitely once you started putting all of these ventures into your phone and kind of started manifesting, you really took responsibility for funding your own dreams. Also, you needed to support your family, but you knew that your $1 million idea was going to come and you knew you had to have funding for that. So, in taking that responsibility into your own hands without a true fallback is scary for most entrepreneurs. We hear a lot of controversy right now about founders in their 20s quitting their corporate jobs to go all in. But then some other founders say, keep your corporate job for quite literally as long as humanly possible. And your story is a little bit different. You were starting to increase your prices. During that time, did you ever think about doing something else? Or did you say, I'm not going to fix this right now? It's not broken. I'm just going to keep get like my funding is going to come
Mhm.
from photography.
So, transparently, we were relying on my husband's income. And in California with 3 kids, that's a hard thing to be a one income family, but we were skating by. So, really the income I was making from photography was just my money. I mean, I don't want to say that because it should be for the family, but I was just so excited to actually have a little bit of money to play with. So, I'll be honest with you. I was getting acupuncture, I was going to get facials, I was getting pedicures because I couldn't really do that freely. I was doing a little bit of shopping. Looking back on it, had I known that I was going to be searching for my $1 million idea and need funding, that was the dumbest mistake. That was probably one of my mistakes looking back. If I had saved all that photography money and just like left it there, I would be in a much better place today. What can you do though? You have to learn. And I kind of needed some retail therapy, if you will. So I am in a different situation than these people in their 20s, but it's similar because I have a full time job of being a mom.
Mhm.
And these were all side gigs. Yeah, it's still been really hard and it sucks how expensive everything is and how much money it takes. And starting a food brand, a lot of people think you need $1 million or 500 or 250,000 or at least 100 or 50,000. And I have like 25,000. And I'm super open and honest about that money. I have spent some of it. I started probably with about 30,000 of what I saved from a holiday season of photography and just working my butt off. I did like corporate headshots. I did everything I could. And I am probably about 20,000 now. I have had to spend, on branding and all this kind of stuff. But I guess the photography thing was really cool because people would come to me, I would provide a service and deliver beautiful photos. So it was worth their money. I was also less money than other photographers. And it was such an easy setting for them, a 10-minute photo shoot. Their kids aren't running around the beach. They're just in my garage and I'm kind of directing. And it really is a good way to make money. So, and it's a huge part of my journey. Even though I really didn't like it anymore, it's gotten me to this point. Like I have to be so grateful for it. And what's super cool is since I'm doing a food product, I am going to need those skills. I am going to need my camera. I did end up buying a camera, by the way. I am going to need that to take product photography. So I'm very, very grateful for it. I just really hope I don't have to do it again this year because it's so much work and I do need money, but I can't even imagine doing it again now that I'm in full Pantry Gems mode. Plus being a mom, like if I didn't have the mom aspect, heck yeah, I'd be doing photo shoots all day and just sucking it up. But I hope I don't have to do it this year. So manifesting that.
Manifesting that. And that's exactly why I said at the beginning of this podcast, you've kind of hacked this bootstrapping system. And for all ages of founders out there, what is your advice or the steps that you would recommend for founders trying to fund their business by starting another small business?
Oh, man, that is such a good question because let's just say you're in your 20s or 30s with kids or without, and your 9 to 5 job pays the bills. You may not have extra money. And you're right, you may have to start a side gig. Another thing I thought about doing was I became obsessed with making sourdough. I was like, I could sell sourdough. There are things that you can do, but it's really hard because then you're spending your nights and weekends doing your side job along with your full time job. So I guess my advice is see if there is a hack. For me, asking people for money, investors or friends and family, that wasn't something I was ready to do. So I had to hack the system. And I am so lucky that I had this photography thing. You all should look into it and feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to share the links to the garage setup and the YouTube class I took because you can do that. it's a great way to make money, especially if you know a lot of people or people can connect you to others.
I love that. I think about that all the time. I'm obsessed with bone broth. So I did find myself the other day looking up what all the laws would be of how to start making bone broth and selling it. So who knows? Maybe we'll have a Trenches bone broth brand
That
soon.
would be that would be so cool. I would buy it. I love bone broth.
We love it. And you mentioned a few times that you're a foodie and you're a home cook with deep Italian roots, which we love. And you kind of talked us through October 2024 to the beginning of 2025 when you decided that 2025 was going to be the year you were bringing Pantry Gems to life. What has January 2025 through the end of 2025? It's April now, you guys, in 2026. So what was 2025 like for you and Pantry Gems?
Okay, let me walk you through it. So, January, so first of all, I live in Cardiff by the Sea, California. If anyone ever visits, it's a beautiful little tiny beach town. We have an amazing grocery store here that is a specialty grocery store. It's called Seaside Market. We have this awesome ocean walk that's called the Rail Trail. And this was something that I did a lot. I would walk my dog on the rail trail pretty much every day, and I would use this time for manifesting. I would listen to founder podcasts. I would just like breathe in the air around me, like I'm spreading my arms out wide and just taking it in and just being like, universe, help me. I'm not really a religious person, but I'm spiritual. But anyone who's listening, help me with my ideas. So one day I was walking on the rail trail with a friend who also has a golden retriever. And I was telling her the idea, and she was like, this is going to sound crazy, but I think we know someone that works at a tomato factory, which mind blown because what? Like, that's such a foreign thing. Who randomly knows someone? So, if you remember on my sales job track, the second job I had for 6 months was at a copier company. And I was 24. Like, when you have a job in your 20s, it's so fun. You have like all your work peeps. One of the guys there, his best friend, is the one that works at a tomato factory. So we texted him and he connected me with my guy. And I was telling him about my idea. What do you think? And he said, I love this and I've never seen it done. And he knows everything about the tomato industry. Truly, he's my guru. You ask him a question, he knows where Hunt's gets their tomatoes. He knows this, that, and he had never seen this done. So that was a huge, huge turning point for me because I decided I'm going for this. And when you have ideas floating in your head, how do you make them real? That is something I can't really put into words, but you just have to take small actions and just do it. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I was inspired by garlic cubes. And I use these garlic cubes from Trader Joe's that they're like frozen poppable cubes. And the tomato paste mixed with these cubes is really where my idea clicked. And I was like, why aren't there poppable cubes of tomato paste? So at this point, this was maybe before I talked to my tomato guy, but I was just testing it myself. I was putting tomato paste in these garlic cube trays that were empty, freezing them and then cooking with them. It does seem like a good method, but for me, frozen tomato paste isn't the best user experience for tomato paste because it's frozen, it has to melt. It's just kind of annoying, not the goal here, but it did make it so easy because you don't have to measure. You just pop out a cube. That's what you need for your recipe. One of the first steps I took was I went to a local high school that has a 3D printing lab. And I kind of described to them what I wanted. I wanted a tray similar to the garlic cubes, but I just wanted 6 tablespoon portions in it that you can pop out. So they made me that tray. And then around that time, I talked to my tomato guy. And he said, you definitely don't want a frozen product. You need a frozen warehouse. You can't have clear packaging. It just seemed really complicated. It wasn't a way that I could make it myself. So he suggested the packets. And once he suggested that, so this is still January, maybe February, we decided I need to try to make this myself. And I ordered an injector from Amazon and I had all this tomato paste. I was filling the injector. I got my packets off Amazon and then basically a straightening iron to seal them. And I was trying to just make packets. And I did do that with the injector. It wasn't easy because you have to fill up this injector with a very thick paste, put it in the packet, seal it, etc. That was hard. So the next step, and this is bringing us to April, it was proving the concept though. Using those first Pantry Gems, was such an amazing tomato paste experience, the best tomato paste experience I ever had. And it just proved that this was a really good idea. So fast forward to April, my husband and I were looking on Amazon, trying to figure out a different way to make the gems. And I don't know what it's called, but it's basically a big machine, maybe a piston filler or something like that, packet full of paste, and we could put our packets under it and just kind of pump it down and fill each packet. So it was just a little bit faster way of doing it than using the injector. Now, it still was very hard. The paste is thick. There would be air bubbles. I wouldn't get consistent weighing measurements, but it was a way to make it. It did take us all day to make only 100 packets. And very quickly we realized I'm going to need a co-packer. This was not the best task for a mom of 3, was to sit there making packets all day. And that is a monumental moment in this journey, because that is when I kind of took it to the next step and started being like, okay, I am doing this business. What are the steps I need to take? From there, for me, what was very important as a creative person and a very visual person was finding a brand designer. So I started finding brand designers and just compiling a list. And back to when I said I listened to Founder podcast, one of the brands that I am very inspired by is Fishwife. I became obsessed with Fishwife. I would search in the podcast app and listen to every single one that the Fishwife founder did. I would listen to every podcast, and I did discover her brand designer that way. I was able to figure out who it was. And I will say, so Fishwife, they do tinned fish, and they were breaking into an aisle at the market that has a lot of old players like Starkist and Bumblebee Tuna. And it just really resonated with me because I'm breaking into an aisle with a lot of big players. So she got an illustrator, and I tried to contact her illustrator. They never got back to me, but that kind of opened a new door for me. And that was to look at illustrators. And there's this account that I follow on Instagram. It's called Beach Reads and Bubbly. It's like a book reading account. And she had tagged her brand designer. And I don't know why, I just decided to follow the brand designer. I liked her work. It's SM Creative. Her name is Emma. And I had put her on my list of people to talk to. And I had talked to at least 5, 6, 7 people by this point. I talked to the Graza brand designers, but they were minimum $85,000 for brand design. And so that was obviously way out of budget. I didn't even have saved money at this point, by the way. I had like $5,000 from photography. I just kept talking to people, and then I get to my beloved Emma, who I'm so obsessed with. I want to give her a major shout out. She is so talented. And when we got on a video call, my idea resonated with her right away, and we decided to work together. So it was about May or June when we got started, and we just started with the logo and just like imagery. I want this to be a fun, whimsical brand that sticks out in the aisle, but doesn't stick out too much. I'm such a color person. We went with like our emerald green as one of our main colors, and red and blue. Stripes were big for us. We did use Fishwife as a major inspiration. So we were trying to do like little tomatoes that are catchy and stuff like that. So that was one of the first big things. That was actually the first big thing that I spent my money on. And I'm so happy about it. And then the co-packer search began. And if you talk to anyone in the CPG world, this is a huge challenge. Somebody out there, this is a career opportunity. Put together a fabulous list that has co-packers with working phone numbers, working emails, descriptions of what the co-packers actually do. Because that's not really out there. You would just have to search and try to find someone. And I couldn't find anyone to do what I needed. I also didn't know how to talk to the co-packers. That was a learning curve. Like maybe I got dismissed by some because of the language I was using. It was just, not business-like, or just, I don't know the terms. But I joined a group called Startup CPG, which any CPG founder definitely needs to join, because the resources and the Slack channel are incredible. And I posted in the Slack channel that I was looking for a co-packer. I described what I needed, tomato paste in packets. And I had a guy reply to me saying that he thinks he could make it. And this was very exciting. And I didn't reach out to him at first because I was just like, what? Like, how is this happening? How is it possible? Turns out that guy, Tony at Nakinoku, he is a wonderful guy. He's a professor and a dad and just a real person. And that meant a lot to me to work with someone like that. He really got me to this point. We're kind of ending our work together because I'm going to need to scale at some point, and I'll get into that, but truly I am so grateful for him on this journey. He is a huge part of this and how I got to the point I'm at. So that was probably when I found him. I think it was in like July, maybe August. And around that same time, I was getting very, very immersed in the CPG world on Instagram. I hadn't started my Pantry Gems Instagram, but on my personal, I started following brands and just seeing what everyone's up to. And something I kept coming across were two different people that can help. And I do want to note that I was consuming so much that it was overwhelming. And I don't know how you avoid that, because when you want to find a new industry, you want to consume everything and learn, but it was overwhelming for me. So I kind of realized like, I need to figure this out. I need to take a class. I need someone to help me, something. So there were two people that I was considering. And the first one is Kelly Bennett, who does brand strategy. She's still one that I wish I could have worked with, but I didn't have the money at that time. But I have a lot of friends that work with her and love her. The other one that I did end up working with is Danielle from It's All Happening Co. Huge part of my journey. I'm so grateful to her. So what she does is she has this program called LaunchLab, and it's a 10-week program. And it takes you from idea to launch every step along the way for food and beverage products or just all CPG. So that started September 1st, I believe, something like this around that time. Before that, I'm such a goal person. I'm such a type A person. And that really is hard to do when you're a mom. But I love routines. I love having goals and dates that I'm working towards. And I had bought tickets to go to a cookbook signing for a food influencer that I really love. His name is Grossi Pelosi. I'm sure a lot of listeners follow him. He was having a cookbook signing. I think it was like around like September 11th or something like that. So I made a goal for myself that I need to post on social media, and I want to have like my account like established so that you can see I'm a real brand, so that by the time I get to that cookbook signing, I can give him samples and hope that he tags me. He didn't tag me, but that's okay. I did meet What's Gotta Be Cooking there, and I gave her a sample and she did tag me. And that was the craziest experience ever. I got like a few hundred followers from her. It was amazing. And they're all my people. Like I'm in her Facebook group. So that was pretty cool. And the people that followed me were all like home cooks. So that was cool. Anyway, so I start LaunchLab, my 10-week course, and it was the best thing I've ever done. I did not want it to end. Being in Danielle's orbit, for anyone out there listening, you have got to do LaunchLab. I cannot emphasize this enough. It's so hard to know what is real out there. Who are the people that are really going to help you? She is a gem, pun intended. She's a gem. And I learned so much. I also was put in a cohort of other founders who I am still friends with today, including Diana. That's how I met Diana from Salsi. Love her. And it was just the best thing I've done. Let's see. So that ended in November. Around November, that same time is when I did the pilot run with Tony at Nakinoku, which was super cool. I got like 900 samples that turned into about 500 samples once I sorted through everything and took the ones that were up to my standards. And then I just put stickers on them. And I will say, so the rest of 2025 was going to little events. I hosted a annual cookie party that I always do. And I kind of took it upon myself to turn it into a Pantry Gems party where I sold some of my samples and I sold merch. That's another big rec that I have is Emma from API, who is doing my merch. I love her. So Emma, brand designer, and Emma, merch girl. I love them both. So at that cookie party, it was an opportunity to get pictures. I had a friend take photos. And then the holidays came. And this is where I really went through a slump, because it is a lot to have 3 kids go through the holidays and try to have this little small business. This is when the momentum just went way downhill. So I did this pilot run. It wasn't perfect, but it was close. We were having issues with the outside of the packaging. So I had to go back and forth with my packaging people. This took us into January. I have my potential launch date creeping up, which I thought was going to be April 6th, which is National Tomato Day. That was last week as time of recording. It didn't end up happening, but it was still January at this point. So I thought maybe it could happen. Went back and forth with packaging. It takes like a month each time. It's crazy. I did go to Fancy Fair in San Diego, which is a food expo. That was awesome. And I ended up going to Expo West in March. So I haven't had a lot of movement from December until about 3 weeks ago. That kind of takes us to current day.
Mm.
Sorry for the
Okay.
very long winded answer. Just wanted to get it all out for you.
No, that covered so much because I was going to ask you, the steps that you went through to get to single serve packaging and all that kind of stuff. But if you really, really listen to your story and you so eloquently, honestly put it all out there that you answered so many questions. So for all of our listeners out there, rewind that back and listen to it step by step because she really did cover everything from your idea concepting to testing it, starting to, come up with that concept in your home, starting to realize those initial roadblockers, but then also being able to validate it and say, okay, there are consumers out there beyond myself that also have this issue. And it is really taking shape and will take on a life once it gets out of my home kitchen. Talk through recipe testing and your partners, how you found them along the way, and then how you got into the accelerator, which, yes, we love Danielle. I cannot wait to eventually meet her. I'll have to send her all the podcasts from all of the founders that she has so graciously launched because they're all here on the Trenches podcast now. But even through your sourcing and like I said, your partners, your tomato guy, your branding, all of that is exactly what we all listen to this podcast for is what is that step-by-step guide? And your story absolutely went through that. And I know you briefly mentioned at the end that you went to Expo West, the Super Bowl of CPG that everybody is dying to not only be a vendor at, but also go for the networking and the connections that you can make while at it. So for you as a pre-launch founder, what was the value that you gained by attending an event like that? And what would be your advice for other pre launch founders who are trying to scrap up the funds to get to their big industry event?
Such a good question. And I am so excited to talk about this because I think the way that I did it was awesome. First of all, I'm very lucky because I live in San Diego. So I was able to drive there. It was only an hour drive. And that was very helpful. I wouldn't have gone otherwise because of the money thing, but I really only spent like maybe $300 for the whole time I was there. So my advice is do what I did. Help someone at a booth so you get in for free and also get to experience the booth life, which was amazing. I helped Clark from Lasso, which is like a it's like a protein and fiber gelatin company, basically like a better for you jello that tastes really good. And he was such an amazing person to learn from. And I also got into the show for free. What I would do when I wasn't at the booth was I had made this clear backpack that I used at Fancy Fair too, stuffed it with all my samples. I had like a little bit of merch in there. I had business cards and I kind of had an outfit change that I would do. I would like strip off my lasso gear, put on my tomato gear and just walk around. And I'm a human tomato walking around Expo West. I got so much attention. Dress in your brand. So important. I got to talk to so many people. I was talking to Pantry Gems over and over again, exposing people, trying to get Instagram followers a little bit here and there. Everyone that's listening, my handle is at Pantry Gems on TikTok and Instagram. Please follow me. I would love that and to connect with you. And the other thing about Expo West is the parties. So if you are a part of Startup CPG and Naturally, which is another like networking group, and then if you follow like certain Instagram accounts, you'll come across all these parties. That was the most fun thing for me, for sure, was the parties. I had a blast. I got so lucky. And Andrea from Snack Shot invited me to her party, which was incredible. I had a blast at that. I did a bunch of other stuff. There were sampling events, all kinds of stuff. I did not sample because I don't have enough product. I just did a pilot run. But as a pre launch founder, it was really fun to just be there. And if you can get yourself there, do it. It's just fun to be in that vicinity. Another thing about living in San Diego that I'm so lucky was I had my car. So I basically went grocery shopping at Expo West. I got so many samples. My kids were in heaven. It was amazing. And you can't even imagine how big Expo West is. Like, I can't put it into words how large it was. I can only say maybe it's like the size of an airport. That's how big it is. Way bigger than a hotel or a convention center because they have so many different areas. But it was just a very cool experience and I had so much fun. And yeah, definitely did the clear backpack.
The clear backpack, that is, guys, she's a hacker. She knows how to hack every system. She's like, how do you get into Expo West? You literally work with another brand and you understand the booth, and then you can understand the cost of your booth, what it's like, get your feet in the door, and also have a little Hannah Montana moment and switch into your star gear and then walk around with a clear backpack, giving out, samples or talking about your product, everything. Truly, you have learned how to hack this entrepreneurial system. I hope you guys are listening so close because she is quite literally dropping gems. Since you had so much success at Expo West and you have brought your whole self into your branding, if you guys are not watching right now, Gina always wears these tomato beaded earrings while she also wears very tomato themed clothing, which I love. Let's ask the number one question. Tell me about the name Pantry Gems.
I am so excited to talk to you about this. I haven't said this. I've only done one other podcast episode, but I didn't get a chance to talk about the name. So I'm very big on names. I love a pun. I just love names. Like naming my children was so fun for me. I'd been keeping a list for years, all the things. My last name is Moore, Moore. So when I got married, the hashtag thing was big. So I love to find like a hashtag. So we did like love you more with two O's type thing. So, anyways, the name was huge for me. And when I was trying to think of a name, somehow Pantry Gems came up. I don't know how it came to me. I seriously don't, but I had it written down. And what's so crazy about this name, speaking of my wedding, is the amount of gems and gemstones I had at my wedding. And I had this moment where I was scrolling Instagram, came across my wedding planners account, and something triggered in my head where I was like, oh my gosh, Heather, my wedding planner, plans the most amazing events. I had all these gems. It was gems all along. Like I had this crazy moment. And at that point, I was going back and forth between Pantry Gems and tomato pasties, which my mom actually thought of. And I'm so obsessed with tomato pasties. Like I couldn't get over it. I was like, I have to do this. I know it is
I
very
hope you
funny.
make
And
them
I
as merch one day.
guess what? I do. I make sweatshirts that have tomato pasties on them,
I love
branded merch
that.
that have just tomatoes on the boobs. I'm just throwing it out there. I think it's the best idea ever.
It is a
And
very
the
cute
reason,
shirt.
thank you. And the reason why I didn't go with tomato pasties ultimately was it would make me just limited to tomato products. And I don't want to be limited to tomato products, but I still was going back and forth about it. And sometimes people have a brand name and like it would be Pantry Gems and I can name my product tomato pasties, but I didn't want to confuse people. There is a brand out there that does this and I didn't even know that their product name, I thought that was their brand name. So I just wanted to Pantry Gems just encompasses everything. And like I said, that wedding reference, it was gems all along. And I love it so much because I have so many other ideas for products. So I definitely, I'm sure you're going to ask me if I do. And yes, I have a lot of other ideas for gems.
Yes, way to read my mind because my next question was going to be, are we going to get more gems in the Pantry Gems lineup one day?
That is for sure the goal. I definitely want to. I have so many ideas. I keep a running list in a Google Doc of SKU ideas. And I am adamant that my first product is 1 tablespoon gems of tomato paste. But I think to branch out from there, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I probably should talk to an expert about this. But I think another SKU for me would be 2 tablespoon gems and then of tomato paste. From there, I would love to do spicy tomato paste if we're sticking
Ooh.
with tomatoes at first, just to test out what it's like to have other SKUs. I have a friend from Italy who said that she can't find spicy tomato paste, so I think that would be awesome and it would be portioned out. And how good would that would that be to make like a spicy vodka sauce using my spicy tomato paste gems. But I have so many other ideas. And really, Pantry Gems, the name, these are your favorite pantry staples. Like these are your favorite staples of your pantry, the gems of your pantry. So, what are things that you need for recipes that you use once and then waste the rest of? I have a huge list. Or things that are sticky and hard to measure. Like with tomato paste, you have to open the can or the tube. I'm throwing it out there. People are always like, do you know about the tube? Of course I know about the tube. But for me, it's still not the best tomato paste experience because you still have to use a measuring spoon. And technically, most of those tubes need to be used within 7 to 10 days. And I forget about it. I leave it in my fridge and I'm sure it's fine to use quote unquote expired tomato paste, whatever. People do it. But also, I got grossed out finding crusty tubes in my fridge, not knowing how old they were. So I ended up throwing them away. And then with the can, you have to measure it with a measuring spoon. You have to scoop it out of the measuring spoon. And that dirties dishes and you never get the perfect amount. So things that you use once and waste, or things that are sticky and hard to measure. These are pinpoints that I'm like brainstorming on, and I have a huge list. We'll see like what direction I go in. And even things like pumpkin, when you make a pumpkin bread, you never use the whole can. So there's just like the portions are off for me with different recipes. Like I said, I cook a lot. So there will definitely be other gems in the future.
No, I love that, and I was making all these faces for anybody who's not watching the podcast because I quite literally have an open can of tomato paste in my refrigerator right now, and when you just said that it expires in 6 to 10 days, I said, "It's definitely over than that," but did I use it the other day? Absolutely, which that is such a cornerstone of your brand, not only just tomatoes right now, but the portion sizes is a huge differentiator for you. The single serve packaging is a differentiator for you. So, for aspiring entrepreneurs out there who are looking around their homes right now, what would be your advice for using your current environment or your home to find that $1 million idea?
Yeah, I think like somehow if you're manifesting and you're looking at your surroundings, hopefully something's going to jump out at you. I didn't write down tomato paste or think about having a CPG brand. That is really not it. I was just brainstorming what are things that are problems in my life that I want to fix. And for me, I'm Italian. I cook a lot. I have 3 kids, which means I make a lot of spaghetti and I love to make things homemade. So I make a lot of spaghetti sauce. And
Mm.
I was constantly wasting tomato paste. So I think look for something in your everyday life and see if you can change it or update it. Even I've had friends talk about this where when you go to the beach and you have your beach chair and there hasn't been a ton of updates to beach chairs, like look into that. I'm not trying to completely change the wheel, but something like that's familiar that you can make better. That's kind of what this idea evolved into.
Yeah, and that's exactly what your brand is. Your brand is an innovative brand. We have tomato paste, yes, but we do not have it in these single serve packages. And when I was preparing this episode, I really thought about that and I said, what else actually comes in single serve packages? And the only thing that I could think of was the seasoning aisle, thinking of taco seasoning packets or anything that could come in that type of a packet. So, with single serve packaging being a big differentiator for you too, how did you decide like that was going to be the single serve packaging was going to be your, I think they call it a moat, is the business term, if we're going to go with it, is your true moat? And how has single serve packaging been easier or harder in this now co-packaging manufacturing space?
Well, I definitely think there's a reason that no one has done this idea because boy, has it been complicated. Like, truly, I have such amazing experts on this, and we have had so much trouble. There are other things that you can do in single serve packaging that might not be as hard as tomato paste, but because it's so thick and the packet is so small, and I'm completely adamant on the 1 tablespoon, I don't want food waste. So it's been really, really challenging for the single serve, but I do think there is a huge market for it. I think the world is moving towards less food waste and more convenience. And for me, my brand, Pantry Gems, is basically just changing the delivery method
Mhm.
of tomato paste. Like it's a packaging brand almost. So I need to get to the bottom of this. And hopefully once I figure it out, it'll be easier to make other gems. But there have been a lot of challenges along the way, for sure.
So, for any of our founders out there who are going to innovate on a product, not impossible. Just know that your challenge may indeed be the innovation that you have decided to do. And so, for you, Gina, what are your top 3 things you wish you knew before starting in the CPG or food space?
Great question. I definitely wish I would have started the packaging search a lot earlier. Even though I didn't exactly know my product, I wish I would have started the relationships and the conversations around the packaging way earlier because that takes months and months and that can really set you back. So that is for sure one of them. The next one is, oh man, this is really hard. I hope I can think of 3. But I guess, you don't have to have a business background for this. Maybe my creative background is, and my being naive is like helping me, but you do need to find help. You need to find experts that can help you. So find a person. If you're in CPG, maybe that person is Danielle from It's All Happen and Go, but somebody that can guide you. And I wish I would have done that sooner. I mean, it wasn't that far into my journey, but I started talking about it in January and I found her at the end of August. So that could be one thing I wish I knew sooner. And the last one is, oh boy, I don't know. I don't know. Like I'm still figuring it out. Money, for sure. I mean, I could easily that's like a given, was you're going to need a lot of money and I wish I had more.
Don't we all? Don't we
Yes.
all? Okay, so I definitely want to hear where you are today. You have been so generous with us in sharing every single moment of your journey thus far. And you mentioned at the beginning of this podcast that a lot has changed since December when things were slow, and now we're here in April. Where are we at today? And what has changed in the past few weeks?
Okay, so I'm going to back up a little bit to talk about Expo West again. And how one of my connections, Danielle, introduced me to a few different people. One of those was Scale Food Labs. So I'm not going to describe what their company is, but you can look it up. But it's basically like a food scientist. And at this stage in the game, me being so stuck and not being able to know how to produce our product, I really needed a person like this in my life. And I am so glad I found Scale Food Labs. Thank you, Danielle. And I think Kelly Bennett too. So we were introduced. Her name is Anne, and she runs the business with her business partner/partner in life, Travis. And we actually just kicked things off last week. We started a month-long project together. Yay! I know. I'm so excited. I'm literally so excited. I can't even tell you. And this was a chunk of my money to work with her. And I just couldn't be happier because if I didn't do this, we might just continue to be stuck. And so far, I've had the best experience. It's literally been like 5 days, but Anne has very quickly become an advocate for me and a representative of me. And we've been on calls with all my people so that they can give her all the information that we have learned thus far. And I am so impressed with them, the way Anne conducts the calls and directs and just asks all the right questions. I have so much confidence that in this month-long project, we are going to figure it out. So that is huge for me. Okay. I had months. And this is another thing I want to talk about actually was momentum. When you're high, you're high. And when you're low, you're low. And it is so hard to get back up on that roller coaster and try to get the momentum back. So I am just very excited that this is going to get me momentum back. And it already has. I feel so good again. I feel like I want to start posting on social media again. I was just really in a slump. I didn't have a lot to say and there was things to do, but I just, we were stuck. So I have a lot of excitement towards this, that we are going to figure this out. And I can't really talk about this, but I did get approached for a major retail order and I am freaking psyched about it. I can't wait to share about that. But first I need to figure out, the actual production of the product. There is like a reference that I have been making lately with friends about my current status of where I'm at. And it's basically like I'm pregnant with a Pantry Gems baby right now. Like, like the baby is in there and that when the baby comes out, my life will change, but it hasn't yet. So I'm just pregnant. I'm on my own timeline. By the way, I'm not pregnant with a baby, just to clarify that. That ship has sailed. 3 kids is enough. But the Pantry Gems baby is coming. Right now, I'm just trying to prepare. We're like warming that baby up, getting it ready to launch. And it's going to take a few more months. And that's fine. I want the baby to keep cooking so that when launch day comes, we are ready to go. Yeah. So right now I'm on a high. I have excitement. I can't wait to get my product out there. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at.
That is incredible. I'm like bursting at the seams for you because having a retail partner, possibly fingers crossed, like prayers up, already in communication when on the inside of the brand, you're like, we haven't even truly figured out how to put tomato paste in a single package yet, feels like the quintessential entrepreneurial journey.
I
Opportunities come and you
agree.
take them when you can, when they present themselves, and you truly have to fly the plane while it's already in the air. And that is the exact moment that you're at. So that is so
Yeah, you just have
exciting.
to say yes. And my new quote is swing for the fences. So swing for the fences. Say yes to stuff when you're not ready, even if it feels scary. And yes, I'm a mom and I just turned 40 on April 11th. Like, yes, but I still get scared. Like, I don't always feel equipped for the conversations and I don't feel ready, but I have dreams here and I have to keep working towards those dreams. And that means doing stuff that is out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you've talked about it a little bit on the podcast of pushing yourself and getting out of your comfort zone. I found that a lot of female entrepreneurs nowadays are expected to build in public. And you are doing that, but when the lows are low, social media is probably the first one to go away. You do not want to be putting yourself out there on the internet, but you still do. So, what has your experience been using social media to drive early traction, and what have been some of the advantages and some of the hardships?
Yeah, I think social media is very important. I think you can't do this without social media. Although it is funny because when you're on Instagram and you somehow run into a brand that you've never heard of and you realize they're selling at Target, but you've never seen them post on Instagram, like you're like, okay, I'm doing okay. But for me, the founder journey was a piece of this. And I really do like to share about myself. Like I said, I'm a connector. I think it's fun to do social media. Granted, I don't have a ton of time for it and it's a little exhausting, but I really do love it. And I have big goals of that. And I do have one more rec for people out there that are listening. My friend Sarah, she has a little social media agency called Hen and Otter. She made me this gorgeous social media plan. So follow me on Instagram and TikTok because I'm hoping to actually implement it soon. But it is also daunting because you're like, how do people go viral? How do people grow? And I really think the key to this is consistency. Don't use me as an example right now because I've been really slow, but I'm hoping to get back to it. It's just hard to make time for it, like you said. But yeah, I just think that's another thing is going back to where you said, what do I wish I knew sooner? Post on social media the day you have the idea. And people might be like, oh, someone's going to steal your idea. Forget about that. These ideas are really hard to execute. Post the day you know. I didn't post until September of 2025. So I had 9 months of videos. I have like thousands of pictures and videos on my phone that I just can't sort through at this point. And it's all interesting stuff about how I'm creating a real life product. So I think social media is crucial. It's a lot of work, but try to be yourself. For me, I am an open, vulnerable person. I love to share. So I enjoy it, but look at me. I still barely have time.
But you're getting it done. You're getting it done. And that's so helpful for all of the crew members out there that are listening and watching who are still in their 9 to 5s or aspiring to be entrepreneurs one day, who are side hustlers like you started out to be and are kind of still right now. They're all looking for ways to use social media. They all are so ambitious and have tons of ideas. And we are all afraid of putting ourselves out there. but it is something that you get better at. You find a time to do. If you're really passionate about your idea, you're going to want to put it out into the world. So honestly, do follow Gina. And even though she may not be posting consistently, at least she has a social media plan and she knows exactly what she's building. And the only reason she's really not doing social media is because she's in the weeds, which
Yep.
we're all in the weeds. So you will have some time. I personally batch my content if anybody ever looks at my TikToks, and that is quite literally the only way that I get through any day. But definitely those lows of lows is because I have a bank of 10 videos that are probably from 2 weeks ago that I'm like, post away 7 a.m. And I just let it ride for the rest of the day.
I'm going to take this advice. That is a great idea. I need to do the batch content for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. Batching content when you're a busy MBA student, side hustler, podcaster, aspiring entrepreneur. It's the only way that I do
It's
post
the only
consistently.
way.
My gosh, this is so good. And I am loving this. And as we're still giving advice to, our ambitious founders out there, I want to know what has kept you while you have been in the trenches.
I just have to keep going back to the reason why I'm doing this. And I want to change my life and I want to change my family's life. And I like I'm doing this for me. Like I have to remember that. Like this is a way for me to selfishly like have something. It's really not selfish because all moms have the right to this, but I just have to keep going back. Like $1 million idea. And by the way, I should be saying $1 billion idea because I met the founder of Poppy and I was talking to him and he said, you need to not say $1 million anymore. You need to say $1 billion. So yes, I should be saying that. But that is why I'm doing this. Like I can't lie. Money is a factor. Like, yes, this actually genuinely is a passion of mine. And I have turned myself into a tomato girl, which has been freaking awesome. People send me tomato stuff all day long. I'm having a ball with it. Really am. I love this so much. And it is a passion. I love to cook, but money, that's a factor. I want to make money. I'm sorry, I'm saying it. It's both things. I want something for myself and I want to change my life. I want to, there's just goals. And it's really hard to remember that when you're in the trenches. You're down in the dumps or just in a funk and you don't feel like you can take the next step and move forward. And you have to kind of go back to your old notes in your phone of when you were brainstorming and see how far you've come. And I am so proud of myself. I stuck with this, with working so hard on this for over a year. I am so proud of myself and I'm so excited because we are months away from, I think we're weeks away from getting over a hump and months away from actually launching a real life food brand called Pantry Gems. Like this is so exciting. And I want to take myself back to this moment of being excited.
You're going to have so many milestones. I remember one of my mentors said, keep a business journal. And I've been slightly bad about keeping an actual business journal, but our TikToks and our building in public kind of are those business journal moments because we are being authentic and filming. So it's a way, it's a video journal, I guess. But
Totally.
keeping moments like that you can go back on and be like, wow, that's really what I started out with. And then to see where you are today, it's such a journey. And so zooming out, you're in the trenches now, but you also are so close to seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. If we really, really zoom out, what's at the end of this? What's beyond the trenches for you?
That's a really good question. It's such like a hot topic right now of people selling their brands, getting all this money or sticking with it and it becoming a family like generational brand and a family business. And I know doing this with my kids, I have to be inspiring them just because they see me working towards something that I really want to do. Part of me does want to sell this. I'm not going to lie. Like part of me wants that check. But the other part of me is this is my baby. Like I'm growing this and am very passionate about it. I believe in it so much. And maybe this is the family business. And, maybe there's a way to marry the two also. But yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking big. I'm thinking very big. I genuinely think this is my million or $1 billion idea. So I just have to keep at it. And I hope I'm still in this space. But in a better place in the next 5 years.
Yes, absolutely. And for our other ambitious listeners and watchers out there, for our closing question, what's something you wish you could tell everyone listening to this podcast episode?
I just want to tell everyone that it doesn't matter what stage of life you're in. You can have a second life or a third life, and you can be in the trenches of a different stage of your life and still have dreams and aspirations and manifest for something new and a change. So I just want to tell everyone that there is a way to make your ideas real and get them out of your head. I do think the first step is writing it down or typing it in your phone. I really fully, truly believe in that. Put it out in the universe. Talk about it with your friends. Just do it. My mom always says that she's so impressed with me because when I say I'm going to do something, I actually do it. So even just having her voice in the back of my head makes me think that whether or not I believe in myself, I am going to make this happen. I am going to do this. It will happen. So I think take action. You may be in the trenches. Maybe you have a newborn right now. Okay. And there's no way I thought I could have done this with a newborn, at least not the food brand part, but I took other little steps when I did have a newborn or a 6-month-old. I mean, my third baby, I was doing something and put pen to paper, take tiny steps to execute this. And eventually it will come to life.
Hmm. I love that. It's the incremental moments that build up over time. Like we just said, with social media, with anything, it's the consistency, even if it's the small steps that will get you to that big goal, no matter what, no matter how long it takes. So I love that advice. I hope everybody listening and watching takes that to heart today and pulls out their phone and takes some notes and write down those steps that they can do starting tomorrow. Well, thank you so much, Gina, for sharing your origin story with us here on Trenches today. I cannot wait to see what you continue to build once you're beyond the trenches. For all of our crew members out there, as Gina has requested, please follow Pantry Gems at Pantry Gems on TikTok and Instagram. And also, if you go to her website, pantrygems.co, please join her waitlist because, as we have talked about this entire episode, she is only months away from solving a problem that you probably have happening in your kitchen right now. So thank you again, Gina, for joining me today. I am so grateful you chose to spend your time with us. And to the crew, we will see you next episode. Bye.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Don't forget to follow us on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Your likes, comments, and ratings make such a big difference in improving the show for each and every crew member. Also, if you're not already, come and join us on TikTok and Instagram at Trenches the Podcast, where we don't just share clips, we're creating a network of co-builders in the comments. Each post is designed to be a truly impactful addition to your scroll that will actually help you improve your journey in many different ways. Now, since you're already a part of the crew, this is how you step inside. By allocating to the fund on Patreon, you become a stakeholder in Trenches the Podcast and officially join our cap table. With access to private content, early drops, resources, and chats reserved for people truly in the work. Here is where you get the tools and the behind the scenes of what it really takes to get beyond the trenches. Your seat gives you direct access to contribute and make long-term decisions for our crew while finding community with fellow builders. It's time to take your seat at the table. Our mission is simple: make entrepreneurship less lonely. I'll see you in the next episode.